Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're looking at Super Eyepatch Wolf's The Cruelest video game. This is for Fear and Hunger, and last time around we started doing this because I thought this would be one of his easy videos. Oh, I was so wrong. This is a very screwed up game, and it basically is the video equivalent of Stockholm Syndrome. That's the best way I could describe this entire thing. He's hating it so much that he's learning to love it. And I'd say this is a descent into madness, but I have seen his Garfield video. We know there's not much left. I'm going to see where this goes, though. I'm both curious and terrified at the same time. And I don't know which one is more predominant, so I'm just going to get it over with to find out and hopefully not have to go to a padded room later and scream that the walls have ears made of cheese. I don't know why cheese. The cheese part disturbs me. Unless it's Munster. Monster's awesome. Otherwise, you guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up, and let's get started.
Your understanding of what this world is and how to move through it. This renders an earlier statement of this video that of a foolish child.
Which one?
If you're playing as anyone except Knight, who is objectively the best class in the game.
Knight is
Why?
good. The combination of her armor granting her the highest starting defense, as well as her speccable ability Fast Attack, which once activated lets her make 2 actions per turn, means she can both soak up the damaging mistakes beginner players will make, as well as giving the
So basically, she's the beginner for when you think you have to do combat. But since this game actually doesn't incentivize combat, she's a trap. Oh.
those players an extra turn to experiment and learn, which makes her a really solid starting option and objectively
But late
the
game,
best
when you need
character
other
in the
things and want to
game
avoid combat.
in combat. However, think of everything we've just talked about and how every advantage of Knight is
You
linked
render her useless if you
exclusively
play
to
the game
battles.
right.
In terms of navigating Fear and Hunger's world and interacting with it as an immersive sim, Knight has no advantages at all. Now, compare that to Mercenary, a character who, stats-wise, is far weaker than Knight. However, not only can his lock-picking ability allow him to bypass any lock in the game, saving those red vials for flinging in the eyes of people who disagree with you about anime, but he can also be specced with the ability Escape Plan, giving him a much higher likelihood of successfully escaping battle.
And considering there's no downside to fighting, being able to run away is almost always the right choice, isn't it? Except for fights where you just need to clear it because you need something from the enemy, like them to be unalived. Which I'm assuming will eventually come up because this game just seems crazy enough that you'll have to win a fight somewhere.
Battles, as well as the ability Dash, which lets him move at double speed.
Oh!
In any other RPG, the combination of these two abilities would be a convenience, but in Fear and Hunger, they are game-changing.
Yeah, you almost necessarily need every second of it.
Escape easily, even in the off chance they catch you, trivializing both the opening dogs as well as the 30-minute time limit you have if you want to reach Lagarde alive.
Oh, there's a time limit. You know what? I'm not even surprised at this game. Sure, of course there is. You reset so many times. It might be 30 minutes, but you never actually spend only 30 minutes getting to him.
Meaning, if you know what you're doing, you can hit credits on this game without engaging in a single battle. So then, Knight is the best character, asterisk, in combat, second asterisk, at the beginning of the game.
Now that's interesting, because I was assuming they would just be in combat and the rest of the game was out of combat. Who's better at combat at the end of the game, though?
Because you see, the Outlander, who can also be specced with Dash, has the highest base attack, letting him hit like a goddamn meteorite, as well as occasionally breaking locked doors, saving on those ultra-valuable small keys.
Why pick it when you can just bash it in?
But can also be specced with the skill Devour, which lets him eat defeated foes, practically eliminating his hunger mechanic from Fear and Hunger.
And considering that's one of the mechanics that's literally in the name of the game, it's probably a massively important one. I mean, sure, it's kind of fucked up to eat that shit. Like, massively, but at this point, if you're squeamish, you're probably not going to play this game, so it doesn't matter.
And while his starting defense is low, equipping him with the superior armor you're likely to find over the course of the
But you
game
can just pick it up from.
will
It's actually.
eventually
Oh.
make him just as durable as Knight,
And you can do
as
get
well as a
players,
late-game
too.
item that will let him move twice per turn. Meaning, if you can
You get
struggle
items
with
to
a
do that?
particularly brutal early game, you'll be left with a character with all the advantages of Knight, but who can move at double speed, hit harder, and with much easier hunger management. And if you think that
And yeah, so it basically is a skill increase level. And as hard as it is in the beginning, once you have the knowledge to deal with it, it pays off in the long run because you can leverage it way better. But early on, when you don't know how to use it, they're much harder because they're not player free. Oh God, it's actually, you're not choosing a class, you're choosing which level of difficulty you're playing on, aren't you? Oh my God.
that's crazy. Well, let's talk about the Dark Priest, who still sucks. Lowest attack, lowest defense, his little body too frail to hold any decent weapons or armor. His necromancy spell doesn't even do anything. I genuinely do not understand what kind of loser picks the Dark Priest. Like, what is so empty about your life
He picked the Dark Priest, didn't he?
that this is the character you go with? What all this means is that making a successful run in Fear and Hunger means synthesizing together your knowledge of its monsters and how to overcome them, its map and how to navigate it, the strengths and weaknesses of your character, as well as your understanding of the game's items and creativity in how to use them. But the maddening twist with that last one is that 99% of items in Fear and Hunger are randomized. You don't even know what items you're going to pull from a
So I know he mentioned that the actual maps were more or less roguelike, but the actual items are too, so you have no consistency. And that would point out why the side map where you went down the stairs was so important, because it was consistently there. Yeah, but if the items are randomized, you could absolutely have something game-breaking right in the beginning if you're really lucky. Or a ton of useless shit and you're more or less likely to just kill yourself to try again, aren't you? It's full-on roguelike.
specific barrel or crate, meaning you don't even know what tool set you're going to be approaching these obstacles with.
And considering they
or
would apply
what
differently to
resources
different
you're going to be able to
characters.
fall back on. And that's a problem, because the longer a run in Fear and Hunger lasts, the more difficult the mere act of just keeping your party alive and sane becomes.
Oh?
Each character has both a hunger and mind gauge that will constantly drain over time, and letting either drop below 50% can have disastrous effects on your run, as characters suffer mental breakdowns and usually winnable battles become party-wiping massacres.
Oh,
A full party meaning
No, seriously, what the hell was... Ah! It actually changes how they look, because their hunger's really low. Oh. His hunger's also... Oh, I guess it's when it has to go above hunger? They actually look malnourished. Individual character art changing it. That's actually impressive. But, oh, so let's be completely fair here. What the hell was this thing?
battles become party-wiping massacres.
It's skinless and it's wearing, like, a meat dress. You know what? I don't... No, let's just pass on this altogether. Oh, God.
Massacres. A full party meaning you have 8 different gauges that will be constantly draining your supply of food.
Is he saying
and
gauges?
sedatives. And that's
Gauge.
alongside the healing
Probably
items
a
you'll need
Britishism,
to
isn't
recover
it?
from the
Or an
inevitable
Irishism.
damage you will take, as well as the constant supply of
Oh, is it
torches
counting
you'll need
up
to
for the
maintain.
gauges?
Failure to do so in the wrong area, meaning you'll be left scrambling in the pitch black darkness, no idea where to go or what to do as you leak
I mean, it's still
sanity.
visible,
And
so it's
again,
better than I
you
thought.
could
I thought they'd
start
actually
a
just cut the
YouTube
light.
channel to experience the exact same thing. This is all on top of the 30-minute time limit you have to reach Lagarde, as well as the multitude of different status effects that you'll need specific items to cure. And what this all means is that each new step down into the dungeon of Fear and Hunger becomes this anxiety-inducing nightmare that made me realize something. Fear and Hunger is not just an immersive sim. It's also a survival horror. The way survival
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I could get the survival horror thing. It does feel like some of the genre where you're having to get items, survive, learn your mistakes. This one, though, are there such things as survival sims? You know what? Never mind. I literally know of a few games off the top of my head that do that.
Survival horror games, horror is through two steps. The first is the steady chokehold they place on your resources, creating this ever-looming threat
Which
that
game
you
is
will
this?
encounter something that you do not have the health, bullets, or sanity to overcome.
One of the Resident Evils.
That
I don't think I played this
anxiety,
one.
leaving the player in an emotional
Granted, I've
vulnerable
only ever
state
played
that
one of them,
the second
so.
step can happen. The actual scares, which are now able to tap into something more primal, real, and frightening. Fear and Hunger achieves that first part through its nerve-shredding resource management, but what I was not expecting is how disturbingly it handles the second. When you start Fear and Hunger, most of what you'll encounter are dark takes on fantasy tropes. Ogres, imps, lizard men, etc. And while it is stressful, it isn't really frightening, but there's a moment for me where that starts to change.
Which
the
one?
further down the dungeon you go, the more the nature and
Okay, wow. I was under the impression that this game was just randomized dungeon. I didn't realize they had set pieces. That's actually really cool.
reality of this place begin to invert in on themselves as the creatures you encounter begin to distort and separate from any established fantasy idea or conventional norm.
What is
like
that?
a later enemy that looks like a pregnant mannequin, only for the baby to fall out of it onto the floor in front of you and turn by turn slowly crawl to its feet and raise its knife.
With
And
the knife,
I don't
of
even
course, I don't-
know what to fucking say about the harvest men, which don't even attack. They just stand there, reaching their long limbs out and caressing you. Hey, late video edit here. That's not all they do. Do not fight the harvest men. I repeat, do not fight the harvest men. Also, I'm not even gonna talk
You know what? I know better. I'm not going to ask. I don't want to know.
about what's in this hut, but it's bad, so enjoy. That survival horror combination, the anxiety.
How fucked up is it that he's not even putting in the video?
Genuinely horrifying things you encounter. It creates a kind of emotional pressure that pushes on you more and more with each new step you take. And where the game elevates that pressure into straight up dread is with
What
some
the fuck?
fucking amazing atmosphere through sound design. There's one track later on called The Tomb of Gods, where you have this chasm-like soundscape, but then out of it rises this ethereal voice that sounds just a little too high to be human. Accented by these sinister, clinging bells, mixed in a way that makes it sound like around the next corner might just be waiting some ancient, terrifying ritual.
Nope. Nope. Atmospheric things are the one that I can't even do. Oh, jeez. Like, I'm not even playing the game and it's freaking me out. I'm literally just watching someone else talking about it and I'm being freaked out. I play this game, I die. There's no line. It just will happen. Oh, God.
Just beyond.
Sorry, I can't do atmospheric. I just can't. It hits too hard.
Maybe my favorite way the game creates dread through its sound, however, is the track City of Ancients. In it, you can hear a familiar noise. It's that knocking sound we've come to
actually hear
associate
that.
with the beginning of the game. But whereas before it sounded close, as if we're standing next to it,
That knocking noise. Oh.
now it sounds distant.
What is it? Well, it sounds like hoofbeats to me,
Far
though.
away and smothered by some gigantic black abyss. And it's such a subtle but incredible way for the game to whisper to you that the place you started is now very far away, and the place you are is unfathomably deeper and darker, and what awaits below is only further horror. This all combines to make Fear and Hunger a
God damn you! I'm sorry. I literally just got Bambied here specifically. If you get the reference. 1, why? 2, there's a moment in Bambi where it goes from a really depressing scene where his mom dies to da 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 the April flowers, and it's like this happy-go-lucky spring song. And he just Bambied us by doing that. He literally went from all that fear, drawing out his words, going into a deeper, slightly quieter register to add emotive force. And then, oh yeah, Fear and Hunger. It's like, emotional whiplash to the face, man. Ugh.
Damn masterclass in anxiety and dread. But there is one part of this game where that dread spirals into flat.
And he was going back to a normal tone just to give you that little break because he's saying, there's one part. So he's about to say something incredibly fucked up. Out of all the other things, he didn't even show us because of how fucked up they were. Now he has something that's actually going to be like, hey, this is the one that you really need to pay attention to. You son of a bitch. I'm angry because I know with his narrative sense, this is not going to be a stupid payoff. It's probably going to be fucked up. And whatever his standout levels of fucked up in this game is already beyond anything I'm probably able to deal with.
Flat out terror. It is 2 a.m. I am sitting alone on me and my wife's queen-sized bed.
Is that a verb?
Playing Fear and Hunger on my Steam Deck.
Oh.
I'm exploring an area I'd been through half a
Bigger
dozen
than I thought
times
the Steam Deck was.
when suddenly...
Wait, are those lizard men statues? Terrifying presence has entered the room. New enemy?
I'd seen this message before, and by now assumed it was just the game trying to fuck with me. I ignore it and go about my business when... Hey, wait, I've never seen that enemy before. What is that? Oh, okay. Oh, Jesus. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Oh, it just takes heads.
What is happening? Oh my God. This run-devouring monstrosity is the Crow Mauler, a creature who takes inspiration very directly from Silent Hill 2's Pyramid Head.
Yeah,
In
and
fact,
they
I
even
see
have
a lot
the
of
gate
references in
too.
Fear and Hunger, which I don't really get anything out of, but depending on how much you enjoyed the Super Mario movie, you might. Pyramid Head was, in concept,
How much you enjoy the Super Mario movie? I mean, this is 2 months ago. He might mean the new one. I could be mistaken.
at least a stalker enemy, a dangerous, near indestructible creature that pursues the player through the game. And I love stalker enemies. The concept of something that barely obeys the rules of this world while hunting you through it is so captivating and terrifying. However, that terror can quickly turn to goofy irritation if a stalker isn't sufficiently challenging or punishing. This is not a concern you will have with the Crow Mauler. At any point during a battle, he can launch one of several game-derailing attacks. He can use his maul to smash the bones of your party, leaving them permanently debuffed. He can rip out their eyes, causing them to go blind. Pray this does not happen to your main character. And most frighteningly of all, his peck attack will, without a coin toss, kill one of your party members. Encounters with the Crow Mauler are nightmares, massacres in which
you just have to run, don't you?
Hobble away from, beaten, broken, and drained of resources. And while you can avoid him, he has a tendency to burst through a wall and attack you at the worst possible.
He breaks the actual physics of the game, of course, because he could actually just go through immortal objects, breaking through walls. Oh, dear God. So you have to fight him, and you have to deal with the entire chance of, well, this might be a nice run. If I'm not broken enough through sheer luck, it's over. Oh, God.
Time. And it's in those moments you can feel your meticulously planned, hard-fought run teetering on the edge of oblivion. The Crow Mauler works because he is maybe the purest distillation of Fear and Hunger's cruelty. And it is that cruelty that makes this game what it is. There's even multiple points where the game will just kill you outright for selecting the wrong option, like asking you, do you want to climb down a toilet? And if you do, you don't even get a game over, you're just trapped there forever. The lesson being, don't do that, stupid. And in any other game, this would just feel cheap. But in Fear and Hunger, it's just part of the cruel core that is this game. Death is always a lesson. And
what are the chances that you actually have something you can do down there if you had the right item to use it? And it's a horrible, horrible lesson, except in the one chance where it's not.
When I started, this all felt so random and pointless and unfair, but the more I played the game, the more I'd hit these points and find myself going back over the choices that had led me there, picking apart what I could have done different, learning from it, and then excited to reapply that knowledge in my next run. That loop is maddeningly addictive. Learning how to engage with Fear and Hunger's world in the way that it's asking you to, that is the true challenge of this game, and it is fucking enthralling. Recently, I started to learn piano, and as I've mentioned before, I get up several mornings a week and
bashing your head against the system
freezing
until you get
Dublin
it,
air
yeah.
where I learn to pretend murder people in jiu-jitsu, and those are both very
Pretend.
technical activities that you slowly get better at by making mistakes. And Fear and Hunger, it fires my brain in that same way. And combined with the game's atmosphere, its mystique, its feeling of discovering just a little piece.
So it basically has the same type of endorphin trigger that a Dark Souls style game has. It's not that you get to beat it, it's that it's really damn hard until you learn how to beat it. That actually makes a lot of sense, but also at the same time, oh god, the level of frustration you have to endure to get those emotional highs is a bitch.
More of this nightmare with
I mean,
each
for some people though,
one,
it's
it
the
makes
ultimate
for a
crave.
horrifying and
I'm not one of them.
captivating experience that I think you should play.
Nope.
But unfortunately, that is a recommendation I'm going to have to temper with some criticisms. Technically, Fear and Hunger is kind of a mess. There's several areas that drag my frame rate into single digits, and 1 or 2 points from my game would consistently freeze, killing my run. If you don't understand what Fear and Hunger is, it's easy to believe that the game is unfair and random, but these crashes show what actual random unfairness looks like, and
because that wouldn't actually be you making a mistake or playing against the game. That's the devs made a mistake in it. Or they put something on there that's too much of strain for the resources, or it's just bad coding at a point. That's that would be frustrating. Like, I would never get good enough at this game to reach those moments because, one, I don't get good. It's a problem. I'm aware of it. But more importantly, that actually could be a problem. It's been 2 months. Is there any chance that they might have fixed this? I don't know, but depending on how game-breaking they are, that could actually be a major issue.
And it fucking sucks. The caveat here being I was playing mostly on Steam Deck and ran into these issues far less frequently on PC.
So it's probably a
But
hardware
still
usage
shame.
problem.
Fear and Hunger is the kind of game that devours plane rides, and while it has the Steam Deck compatibility tick, it probably shouldn't. I can let this go because Fear and Hunger is made by mostly one person,
whenever the
which
frame
is a
drops
fucking
that low.
achievement, but my 2 other issues are less excusable. Fortunately, during the creation of this video, someone actually released a mod that cuts out all the more sensitive content, which, oh boy, would have been handy to have a month ago. But
There's actually a... yeah, the censor probably is needed because, you know what? Sometimes you don't want that right in your face. I would say most times, but some people like that.
what it means is that anyone can now play it as well as the game being fully streamable. And stream it I shall over on twitch.tv/super.
Just hope it doesn't
this
break.
Friday at 1 PM EST. And that
Oh, no.
excites me greatly, because when Fear and Hunger spins together in just the right way, the emergent narratives it creates are the stuff of pure streaming gold. And
Yeah, this definitely seems like a game with the appropriate mods to make it PC friendly. Is a game that I could see a lot of streamers doing. Hell, I know for a fact I've seen CDogVA put up his vlog about it. So it's definitely something people have done. And I could see someone doing an entire lore breakdown where they just went bit by bit and explained everything in obsessive detail. That might be fun because it would involve me not actually playing the game to get the story. I'm assuming there's a story in here somewhere because this thing is so incredibly crazy. It's probably like Dark Souls where there is one and you have to suffer for it.
And it is one of those narratives that I want to end this video on. But before I do, I just want to acknowledge that if you feel like this video has maybe pulled back a few too
A lot
many
he has not
of
talked
Fear and
about?
Hunger's mysteries, Its sequel, Fear and Hunger Termina, actually released at the end of last year.
There's a sequel. Considering Termina, they have the moon with... They actually went there. They actually went to the moon in Termina that's probably coming down. Oh my... For anyone wondering, Termina was the name... Or sorry, Termina? Yeah, Termina was the name of the world Link was in Majora's Mask with that moon coming straight down. If that's not a shout out, I don't know what is, man.
So here is an entire other bigger game built with the same design ethos for you to just discover for yourself.
Less glitchy?
Now, here is my journey through Fear and Hunger. Against my better judgment, and because I've never really gotten over Casca, I started with the knight, taking advantage of her strong early game, rolling good enough items that let me save the mercenary from the prison, as well as the weird dog from the cave, recording both and battling my way through the game's lower floors. And as I did, something started to dawn on me. I knew which fights to take, I knew which to avoid. Every death, every lesson from previous runs was now materializing in this meticulously laid out plan that was now spinning together into a combination of good fortune and execution that honestly was mildly euphoric as I started to feel like, oh my god, I'm actually doing it. I'm actually going to make it. He's about to die horribly. But there was also something else, dread, knowing that one wrong decision or mistimed button press could drag it all crumbling down. My hands were...
Oh, see that last part right there, the part about one mispress, one wrong timed. All of that is normally just a skill issue, which I normally don't get to because that would imply having skill. But with what he said previously, with some of the glitching where like lose frame rate, that's not saying you're going to have a wrong button press. That's saying you are having a wrong button press. Hope nothing happens. By the way, spoilers, it will every time, no matter what. That would probably be moderately infuriating.
We're beginning to cramp. I could feel the sweat on my controller as I approached Lagarde's cell with mere moments left on the clock. I was going to do it. The end was finally... Oh god! Oh Jesus, no! And still, I managed to rescue Lagarde.
Seriously?
Adrenaline pounding through me as I...
Oh, does time not actually apply to in-game fighting, only to the actual number of steps taken? Oh! That's actually really useful.
Shot back up through the dungeon's floors, trying to remember what enemies I'd left alive and where, scrambling through its corridors, tense and terrified as the Crow Mauler never felt more than a few steps away, until finally we reached the game's opening courtyard.
And?
My party beaten and broken and missing limbs, but alive. We had made it, and I felt genuine happiness.
Wait, he can actually do that?
Both they and I had escaped the dungeon of Fear and Hunger. I had beaten the game.
Why do I have the asterisk coming of, not really? Because, okay, yeah, that's why. There's a lot more. That's why I don't believe he actually beat it. Or maybe it's like one of those minor endings.
Only, why did Lagarde go back? What was that weird moment after you rescue him where he glances up a hallway that we don't need to go down? Well, it didn't matter. What matters is I was now free. My life was mine again to enjoy the sun and the grass and the supermarket. Maybe if I cook a
and you have to go all the way back in, past all the enemies you hadn't killed.
Come back. No, I don't want to go back. No. I began a new playthrough of Fear and Hunger. And the class I picked was the Dark Priest. Oh,
why?
God, damn it. Okay, the Dark Priest is the worst character.
I mean, I knew he would say it, but
until you realize that you can use necromancy to resurrect ghouls and skeletons who join your party, fitting them out with all the armor and weapons you are too weak to carry. But the real brain explosion moment came when I entered an altar and was given the unusual option to show love to my zombie servants. They started to liquefy, merging, ceasing to be two separate beings, but becoming one. Marriage, the brand new character class who could use the spells of the necromancer, wield the armor and weapons of the knight with an even greater offense than the outlander, able to break down.
So that's why he was playing as this monster class prior, because it's literally broken. Ah, I mean, yeah, it's literally body horror, but
down doors in a single swing. I started to feel unstoppable, using everything I'd learned to lay waste to this dungeon. That same euphoria.
I'm assuming there's other
roaring
monster
back,
transformations you can
but
get.
Stronger now. Again, I rescued Lagarde. But this time, I went north at the place he hesitated, only to be met with a giant locked door.
Oh,
but
no.
how do I get it? Wait a minute. I had never figured out what that strange artifact was in the weird racist village from a previous run. And maybe, yes, unload your secrets upon me, game. And here, I would come to learn something terrifying.
You only got to the prologue?
This was Fear and Hunger's halfway point. Once again, I watched.
That's the halfway point. So basically your stated mission, okay, it's better than I feared. I thought it'd be just like, hey, that's the actual tutorial. That one you thought it was? No! Trust me, it gets worse. This thing seems like an incredibly large game. How big is the sequel?
As the game destroyed my expectations of it, because you see, somehow beneath everything else I had overcome was now a giant ancient city filled with the carcasses of gods and enemies so unfathomable and terrifying. I died over and over and over, yet I could not stop. Over and over, I hurled myself against this place, but it was never enough. My party was not strong enough. I became obsessed, crawling through my memories of this game, desperate for something, anything. And that's when I remembered that door in the basement at the beginning of the game. What had it said? What type of key did I need? Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, no. Not that. Anything but...
Emblem of a crow. So that crazy murder boss that you want to avoid at all costs, because it will always, murder you. You need to get an emblem from it. So there's probably either something you have to do either to beat it, but probably not beat him because he would have got it already. Or it's something... Do you need to recruit the goddamn thing? Oh, I don't even... What? That's just insane.
After many hours of experimenting, I defeated the Crow Mauler. I claimed my prize of the Miasma Sword, a blade so powerful that it threatened to drive my party insane. And still, its power was not enough. Still, the game rejected me. And that's when it happened. See, remember that floating head encounter at the beginning of the game?
Oh yeah, he mentioned this guy with the summon.
Is Nashra, and I developed quite a fascination for him. Whenever I'd get the Gore Corridor cutscene, I'd return to him, trying to glean what little information I could before being crushed to death. But that's when I discovered that by carrying the Cube of the Depths as well as the Eclipse Talisman obtained by talking to the Eastern Priests, Nashra can join your party. And
you could actually... I don't... And he has only one weak point. The one weak point everyone has, the head, because he lost everything else and somehow survived. You can recruit... I don't... So that entire thing at the beginning about how this monster was laughing at you, bringing chaos, is a recruitable party member if you just get the right items. Oh, God, I don't even...
So with him, combined with the strength of the miasma sword, combined with the strength of marriage, I smashed my way through to the end game. I lay siege to the ancient city, decapitating its gods, emptying it of its secrets, until I stood before the throne of ascension, facing its final god in one last terrible battle where all my party members were killed.
Wait, Franco? Is this a reference to El Dorado?
And me, without healing items and only 2 HP remaining, I struck the final blow. I sat upon the throne of ascension. I had done it.
And
I had beaten
there's
fear
more, isn't
and
there? Called it.
The game was not over. I was transported to some ancient, primordial, and terrifying place, haunted by things beyond human experience.
Is that a fleshless T-Rex? Oh, it's also toothless. It's a toothless T-Rex. Wow, none of those teeth there. They're just flesh-shaped and go. I didn't expect that today.
So I stumbled blindly and in fear. Once again, the game reduced me to a small, terrified coward. This playthrough had lasted nearly 3 hours. I was exhausted.
To be fair, that was only 3 hours to get that far? Wow. This very much seems like a game that is huge because you have to reset to learn it, but if you cheated and looked up a guide, this would be a very straightforward one, wouldn't it? How much bigger is the sequel?
But surely just a little more and I could be free of this awful place. And that's
gonna die
when I stood before some ancient, glowing abyss.
What?
When out of it rose some impossible eldritch being.
Cthulhu?
Older than time, older than space,
Is that a
more powerful than both. And I knew this was it. This was the game's final boss.
It's not, is it?
And beyond it lay freedom.
I doubt it.
And so
I don't believe that.
with the knowledge of everything I had lost, every death that had come before me, I stepped forward and faced this impossible god in a primordial battle that would determine both our fate.
Dead. You're not supposed to find it, are you? At what point do we just expect him to shout, "God damn it!" and then have a video of him throwing the Steam Deck into a wall? Because at this point, that seems like the safest, most sane possible way to do anything.
So, why put yourself through this?
Masochism?
Why put yourself through the misery and pain and agony of this game?
Go with my previous one,
I
masochism.
feel like the easy answer here would be to say it's the satisfaction of overcoming something difficult. But honestly, I think it's more than that. When I first started playing Fear and Hunger, it didn't just feel hard, it felt like chaos. Death felt immediate and random and unfair. But after spending dozens of hours with this game, well,
it was definitely unfair. Yes. Well, to be fair, it's... Actually, no, I'm not going to be fair because it's unfair itself. This is a very cruel game, but its greatest strength, and I'm probably going to draw a different conclusion here than Super Eyepatch Wolf, it doesn't seem to be that it's engaging. It's that it's always has a little more depth than what you expect. And even when he finally gets to whatever end he reaches, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more content on the side that gave different paths, different options, different outcomes. This seems like a game that's a lot wider than it is long. Because long, he said the longest run he did so far was 3 hours, which doesn't seem like a lot. But there's probably a lot of other things he could have done, a lot of options he hadn't even considered. I wouldn't be surprised if there was ways to skip to the end and he just hadn't reached them because he wouldn't know that until way later on. I fully expect that. This seems like a very crazy incompletion style game. But once you know what you're doing, you're going to find out, oh no, you still don't know. There's more.
Honestly, it still kind of feels that way.
Yep.
The feeling I have isn't mastery, but something else. Survival. The feeling of adapting, of taking this game's bullshit, of every unfair and cruel thing it will do to you, and enduring, of looking at your situation, your resources, your actual options, and using them to carve a path forward. And if it doesn't work, well, you learn what you can and you do better next time. Because that's kind of how fucking life is, right? One day you're fine and the next you're not. You get hurt. You lose something. Your wife leaves you, or someone you love gets cancer. There's no reason to it. This is just what your life is now. And it's easy to fall into despair. It's easy to feel like you have no options. But what you can do is try. Is look at your situation, look at the resources you do have, and adapt and learn from it. Try and make today better than the one that came before. I don't know that there's any other medium that could give me that feeling besides video games, and Fear and Hunger uses that. This simulated experience of suffering, of pain, of losing things and surviving. So yeah, this game is cruel. It is unfair. It will make you want to stop going. Chances are life will do those things as well. But there is always something you can learn. There's always something you can take away from those experiences and grow from it. And I think that's what's beautiful about Fear and Hunger. It's a game about moving forward in that cruelty and surviving regardless.
Which would make a lot more sense if, he showed that you could survive. It's not just waiting until you die, which does actually fit into his narrative thrust right here. So I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just going to say it. This game scares the shit out of me, man. I know I can't do this. I know there's probably going to be people like, hey, Airier, you got to do this game? No, this is not going to happen. I know myself well enough to realize I am a coward. All of the shit here, I can't do that. I might go and try and check out how this is a game that has a lot of lore. I might check out the lore breakdowns, but I'm not doing this myself. Even with the hardness aside, I could deal with that. I can deal with the crazy level designs. The sheer fucked up nature of the game itself, though, would never be something I can get over. It would break me. But damn, if Super Eyepatch Wolf didn't make it seem absolutely fascinating. Like, the problem is, all of that thing I said, all of how I can't do this, that stands. But I'm still tempted because I love how he's describing the level design. That seems innovative and crazy and well thought out, and just having that sheer one after another echo of there's more. There's things you can learn. There's aspects of this game that make it deeper and wider. I love those features in games, almost to the point where even if I know I will never do this, there is still that tiny little part of me that I'm actively trying to stomp out that says, maybe you should try it. And I hate that part of me so much right now. But it's there, and god damn, Super Eyepatch Wolf did a good job getting that across. If anyone knows where I can get a really good lore breakdown, just going full on extensive on this to show what every little piece meant, I would appreciate that, because one, that would also reduce a lot of the inconsistency in trying to find out myself, because I know what that would do to me. I don't want to do that to me. But I would appreciate it. So if you can, thanks. And for everyone else, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm not sure what I'll be doing next from Super Eyepatch Wolf. If you have any suggestions, let me know. And maybe it'll be finally jumping into the Sonic video, because it can't be any more fucked up than this one, right? Right? Oh no. Oh, it probably is. Yeah. Oh, either way, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.